Hello there, my name is Isaac Mukisa Sawakije, and by the grace of God, I'm a location pastor at Worship Harvest Busega. Beyond that, I and my wife founded an organization called Fathers Arise. And main thing is to empower men to thrive. Today we are having this broadcast, and I know you are going to enjoy the time we have together. And with me, I would like to introduce to you a gentleman who is a very good friend of mine that is with me in studio. And this gentleman, he is a spiritual leader. He is a servant to this nation. You'll get to know more about him in a few minutes. But hey, tune in and tell as many people as possible to get on board with this, because we're going to talk about a very important topic that you don't want to miss. So, man of God, can you tell us about yourself?
Thank you very much, Pastor Isaac. My name is Leonard Semazi, and by the grace of God, I am the location pastor of Worship Harvest Nyendo. It's a privilege to be hosted here today. It's my pleasure.
Wow. So you are a pastor in Nyendo?
Oh yes, the mighty city.
Mighty city. Wow. Why Nyendo? Why Nyendo?
Nyendo has a lot of things that it features in my background. By the time I got to understand, I was in Nyendo, of course.
Oh, so you're born of Nyendo.
I always have to tell the truth that I don't know where I was born. By the time I got to understand, I was in Nyendo.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. So tell us about what you do beyond pastoring. Is pastoring all that you do, or do you have some other things you're doing in community? Are you married? Yeah, just let us know about yourself. It's a man talk, so
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Beyond pastoring, of course, I've just started pastoring. What a blessing. I'm a clinical officer with Masaka Referral Hospital.
Interesting.
And I also do a lot of things in the community. I happen, by the grace of God, to run a youth movement, which is called Righteous Nation Revival. It is a group of young people who do revivals everywhere they go. The group of young people who are very passionate about the Word of God, passionate about spreading the gospel, and they are passionate about changing the environment in their community.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So, how many lives are you living, man of God? Please. Oh, that's interesting. And how old are you?
I am now currently 30 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So actually, you can be doing all those things and yet you're still serving God.
Of course.
It's an amazing thing to know. So I know I've had quite a number of interactions with you about your personal lives, and I got to know a little bit about your background, your relationship with your father, briefly tell us, how was the relationship with your father, and how is the relationship with him now? Just in about maybe 2 minutes.
My relationship with my father was all good from childhood, being that I was raised by a single parent. I know many people, when we say single parent, they relate that with a mother, but this was the father who was in this picture. And growing up, I grew up with him. He was teaching me everything, teaching me how to do housework, taking me to school. He was a good man and caring about me. Not until a time came and I gave my life to Christ, and I think I mishandled it all. So being that we were raised with another background, which was not a born-again background, that's how we had to the pages had to break through, and the relationship had to get disconnected. So what happens is that we had lost this relationship for a while, to an extent that my dad, who was a good father as he is even now, he could not want born agains in his house. So what happens is that I had to part ways. We had to part ways. I had to leave the home, and life was good, however much hard somehow. But being that I was believing in God, when I left my father for about a number of years, we were not
Like how many years?
close to 12 years.
Wow.
Yes, close to 12 years. But I thank God that currently we have reconnected. It happens a lot with people when they get born again, and in their families they have not been Christians or they have not been born again. I just take it like if I was a born again and I raised my child born again, and it happens to be that at one moment he wants to change into something else. Let me say, one moment he tells me I want to be a Buddhist. I want to be happy, because I raised them
A certain way.
yeah. So that was the case with between me and my father. So that's how we happened to part ways. And for all that time, he lived in anguish. Okay, the entire story was that I was raised to be, he had the hopes that I would become a priest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and for me, I also never thought that I would become a priest because I just thought if I have a priest who's sponsoring me for school, that's a good thing. Because given the background that our family, we were broke people, we were very poor. Poverty was the thing. And nowadays I tell everybody, I will never be poor again. I will never be poor
I love
again.
that confession.
Yeah. So that was the thing. For me, I was studying under the sponsorship of a priest. But in my mind, it wasn't that. But my father knew I will become a priest because it was a privilege on the village.
For you to be a priest?
Yes.
I know.
That could be a great deal. Yeah. So now here I am, Form 1, second term, and my father gets to know. Somebody had to tell him, because when I got born again, I never disclosed to him. But one time I leave home, go to a crusade, and somebody sees me. I think I was dancing a lot, I don't know. Somebody sees me and comes tells my father, "Hey, thank you for giving us your boy. He is now born again. He confessed Jesus Christ." Little did this lady know that he was making chaos at home. So when I come back, my father asks me to choose between Jesus and him.
So, long story short, you choose, I can see you choosing Jesus.
Of course, yes.
So, that breaks the relationship for some time.
Yes.
And you said at that time you ended up parting ways.
Yes.
So where do you go to? And then when do you connect? I want us to wrap it up in a few minutes, so that I have a few questions I want to ask you.
Leaving home, initially I had to go on a street, which I had not planned, because after being given options, my father it felt like I was a disappointment. Just like any parent could feel if they paved paths for their children and they're not doing so. So he felt like this was a disappointment. So what happens? I had to live on a street for about 2 months, and then later after, I got an auntie who took me on, and my father still, I could want to connect with him those days, but I think I was not too intentional, because whenever I could go to him and he could not want to relate with me, I could also let it be that way. Yes, so that was the thing.
So where do you get the wisdom of getting connected to your father? Because I can see you like a juvenile. I see you as, at that point you're a vagabond. You don't have space, so you faced all entire life certain challenges in life. You've met friends who might have been giving you some sort of advice on how you should deal with your father, because they also might be having history with their own fathers. How do you get the wisdom to make a quick return to your father to create that relationship solidified once again?
Hey, I want to be grateful to God that amidst all that happened, I wanted to go for school. That was the main thing. And I asked God two things. If you let me study, I'll be, number one, I'll be your servant. Number two, I'll be committed to my family. So during that quest, going for school, at one point I got a scholarship opportunity to study in Kampala. That's where I joined the church in Kampala. And there was this good pastor. And this good pastor, that was in Watoto Church. When I joined Watoto Church, they have series that they teach as a church. And I loved it so much because everyone, they could say, this time around, we are going to speak about marriage and family. So they could teach about marriage and family. And there was a time when they could teach about a family that is led by a father, the beauty of being led by a father, the beauty of having a father. And I could remember these points whereby I had these great memories with my father, and they are missing this time around. So at one point, I reached out to one of the pastors. And when I talked to him, I disclosed my situation. He gave me advice. You know what? Begin by sending your father some money. Begin by honoring him. I told him, of course I honor him. But he told me, you honor with something. Send him something. And what I remember that I can never forget, this pastor was so intentional that he gave me some money, loaded on my phone. I sent that money to my father.
Wow.
And I strongly believe this was the loop that started the journey of getting connected back to my father. So being that all the times I could go back, he could not welcome me in. At one point, he could feel like I will always be a failure. I will always be disappointing. Those days, the way Christians were perceived. But this time round, when I sent him some money, he calls back and he's like, do you think I don't have anything to eat, so you're sending me some money? So then I was being told, they had just taught me how to respond to important people. And being that a father is one of the important people, so this time round, I never used the same tonation I used way back when we were parting ways. This time round, I humbled myself down and told him, my father, I've just sent some money. So he says, okay. And after some time, this pastor is still intentional. He tells me, now it's time to leave Kampala, go back to the village, visit your father.
Wow.
So I visit him this time around. I tell him all that has been happening, and God just opened his heart to me back.
Wow.
And he received me back. It was just an important thing.
Those that are viewing us right now, we are here with Pastor Leonard Semazi from Nyendo. He's a pastor of Worship Harvest Nyendo, but yet he's also a son, and he's soon becoming a father.
Of course.
Growing up, we need to recognize that it's very important for each one of us to have a parent, especially a father. Fathers play a very big role in growing of our nation.
Yep.
The smallest unit of a nation is a family. Imagine a family without a father. It's a nation without a father. And therefore, we are headed a very wrong direction. So today is just a snippet of what we are about to be sharing with you in the next captions. We are going to be talking about this message of fatherhood. Everyone needs to understand that fathers play an important role. Are you a man out there? You have a son, you have a daughter. They need to hear your affirmation. They need to see your presence in their life, because your presence in their life paints a picture of who a true father should be. Probably you are a cycle of a father that existed that probably never gave you the kind of picture you need to have. At one point, we also talk about having a spiritual father around you, because even spiritual fathers are important in modeling the kind of fathers we are meant to be. You're right here at Fathers Arise in Busega, in our studio, and I know we are going to be having a great time. See you next time. God bless you.
See you.